joining us today for this important conversation. The link to the announcement is right here below. My name is Harpreet. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm calling in today from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish First Nations in what is commonly known as Vancouver in Canada. I invite the audience today to take a moment to reflect on whose land you're living and working on, and if you don't know, to research and reflect. We are gathered here today from across the globe, from different time zones, from different cultures and different histories, but we are united by a shared, often painful reality. We are living in an era where racism isn't just in the shadows, it is standing in plain sight. I recently wrote a piece called Stolen Sisters and Colonial Control about the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women in Canada, specifically focusing on the struggles to bring home Morgan Harris, Mercedes Myron, Rebecca Comtois, and at the time with the given name Buffalo Woman. For years, the government used words like infeasible and logistics to justify keeping these women in a landfill. It took a relentless and agonizing fight by their families, by daughters like Cambria Harris, to force the state to acknowledge that their lives were worth the effort. But as I looked deeper into this, I realized this wasn't just a failure of policy, it was a strategy. By refusing to provide closure, by allowing trauma to loop through generations, the state maintains a foothold of control. It uses psychological paralysis, stand in the way of sovereignty. Although Indigenous women and girls make up only 4% of the total female population in Canada, they account for a much larger share of homicide victims. The most recent statistics reveal that Indigenous women represent roughly 26%, so more than 1 in 4 of all female homicide victims in Canada. Tonight, I am joined by incredible women from around the world to ask, where else is this happening? Where else is budgeting used as a weapon to devalue certain lives? Where else is the state's indifference used to keep marginalized communities in a state of mourning? And most importantly, how are women globally turning their grief into a refusal to be controlled? We are here today not to just talk about pain, we're here to talk about power that comes when we refuse to let plain sight racism go unchallenged. So to get the conversation started today, I would like to begin by asking, what is one inconvenient truth about racism in your country that everyone sees, but nobody wants to name? Please feel free to speak up and share briefly about who you are, if you'd like, or your name, and in what part of the world you are from, or where you are right now living and working. I'll leave it to you.
Thank you, Harpreet. I'm Patsy Ferguson. I am the editor-in-chief of Fourth Wave. We are an international feminist magazine on Medium, where writers get paid, and all these participants have published on Medium, so I hope you'll look for us there. I apologize for our late start. I am also the tech person, and I'm not very good at it, so I made some mistakes. But I'm very happy to be here. I'm calling in from San Francisco, where the Ohlone were the original inhabitants of the land. And racism is having a big resurgence in my country because of our president, which I'm very unhappy about. But that's me, and I'm glad to be here.
Thanks, Patsy.
Hello, my name is Muniba and I am from Pakistan. So racism here is hidden, but not truly hidden. It is normalized. It is somehow normalized. It exists in how some ethnic groups are portrayed as backward and dangerous and less capable, and other one are treated as default faces of intelligence here. So I am from Balochistan, and being Baloch, I've seen how this work in everyday life. Our language, our way of living are treated as something to be corrected. And I am married in Punjab, so they are considered as like higher from us. So that's why I feel that it is I don't know, but it is kind of racism here that we feel here. And also I am much whiter in skin, fair in skin color than most of because my grandmother was German. So because of this, many people said, you don't look like Baloch. Are you something like what are you, Punjabi or something or something else? So I think this kind of things are like everyone knows this difference, but naming it will require comforting. Uh, who hold powers, so silence is easier. So I think this is going on here in Pakistan. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Esther. I'm in Nigeria. I'm calling in from Nigeria. And honestly, I don't think racism is a problem we have here because it's not a racially diverse country. What we do have is tribalism and colorism because like even in a country where race does not divide us, like human beings would always find a dividing factor. So we do have colorism and tribalism, which is something that does divide us. So we don't have racism over here. I've never experienced racism because we're all Black here.
Can you explain a bit about what you mean about colorism and tribalism?
Okay, so that's
how does that,
basically
yeah.
Okay, colorism, that's skin color hierarchy. So the fairer skins are seen as better than the darker skins. Like, with pretty privilege. I think in America there's like pretty privilege with, I don't know, certain features. Yeah, the ones who have pretty privilege are the first skins. Like, you just have to be fair. Your skin just has to be fair. You have better career paths. Like when you talk about models, the successful actresses and all of this, they're all like fairer skinned. So we have colorism over here and tribalism also. We have hundreds of tribes in this country, hundreds of languages, and that's a very big dividing factor because each tribe feels like they are better than the other. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Hi everyone, I'm Damilola from Nigeria. So I'm coming after Esther because she's also from Nigeria. So yeah, we don't really have anything racism, or should I put it like that? But then she talked about colorism. I myself, as a Black person, I've witnessed scenarios where people, oh, the fair girls are usually more prettier than the dark ones. Yeah, it'll be like when they want to share most beautiful awards, or they want to classify people based on being beautiful, they'll definitely pick the light skin girls before coming down to the dark skin. Then we have the tribalism. Yeah, even after having over hundreds of languages, ethnic groups, and all that, we have three major ones. So mere looking at you, some people already know, oh, she's a Yoruba, oh, she's Igbo, and oh, she's from the northern part of Nigeria. That's, we call them the Hausas. So they will give you a special treatment based on, they feel like, okay, we should be the same tribe, we should be the same, we should be speaking the same language. And very, very, it would be better if you can speak their language, like you, they will give you that special treatment. And yes, I'm going to add one more, classism too, because that also differentiates people when they feel like, okay, people that have masters will even get more better treatments than people that are just BSc holders or NC or whatever, based on your level of education, your level of richness and all that. So all these two it divides people over here. So that's all from my side.
Do you find if you're darker skin, you're more likely to be a target than if you were of lighter skin or complexion in Nigeria? Does it impact sort of discrimination? I think Esther mentioned access to jobs and opportunities, but I wonder even further than that, like being targeted or being,
even from like
homicide
childhood,
rates or yeah. So
even
go ahead,
from
Esther.
childhood, like the darkest people in the class always get bullied. And we also have like eye stats of people bleach their skins. Like it's really, really eye. So we have a lot of people bleach because they cannot like you have been targeted about your skin and this is a solution. So they do bleach over here. And also with the being targeted for rape, I I I do not have the stats on that, so I would not know. But I do know that when a darker skinned woman comes out and says that, oh, this person raped her, they're going to, how they come for, they always find something to attack women with. Like they always have to discredit you first. So it's like, but you're not home fine because you're dark. So like, why would he do that? It's like, you're not home fine. So yeah.
Wow.
Okay, my name is Suma Narayan, and I live in India for now, and I find that more than other countries, India has a very strong system of racism and colorism. I mean, that's a new word I just learned now. And we do tend to believe that people of a lighter skin are better. So the thing is, in the north of India, you're supposed to have the Aryan race, and the south of India, we're supposed to have the Dravidian race, and we are darker skinned. So I belong to the south of India. So there are 5 states over there, and they all are more or less dark. And racism is so prevalent here that we've got this ointment called Fair and Lovely, and this is advertised by
Yeah.
all actors and actresses. Fair and Lovely, it's called Fair and Lovely. So you're supposed to use it once in the day and once at night or some such weird thing, and you're supposed to magically be transformed into some very white being. And
Oh
it,
my
it
God.
is it is such a
It's very
hit
popular, yeah.
among. Yeah. So it's such a hit among people that, actors, actresses, all of them perfectly fair to begin with. They advertise that, and then people think that, oh, look at them, they've become suddenly so fair, not realizing that their parents were fair, they have to be fair, right? So anyway,
Right.
so everybody goes after this fair and lovely thing, and then you go to the beauty parlor, and like you said, you bleach your skin, and you end up looking fair, especially just immediately before you're getting married and stuff. You have to be fair because it looks better in the photographs. So fairness and the fact that there is a superior race, and we've also got something called language racism kind of thing. So the people in the north of India are trying to actually impose Hindi on the south of India, and the south of India hitting back, and that is also another part of it. So we've got a very, very interesting, extremely argumentative set of people, and all of them are fighting about these things. So you've got racism, you've got colorism, you've got the what is known as the upper caste trying to impose their language on the lower caste people or the darker people, and racism is so prevalent in India that it was only when my son went to Australia and realized that people like him for who he is as a human being rather than the color that he is, that he realized that, yes, I am in heaven now because I don't have to be worried about the color of my skin. In fact, even my mother-in-law used to tell him, and she herself was dark, by the way. She used to tell him that why don't you put a little talcum powder on your face? You look a little more, fair, and then, you will look much more attractive and things like that. And my son used to be very upset. He used to completely refuse to do it. But then, when somebody is actually sitting and singing this into your ears day and night, you kind of come to believe that you're less than a human being because you don't have the color that other people want you to have and things like that. So racism is a fact so bad in India that you go to the matrimonial columns, the very first thing that they write is, we want a fair bride or we want a fair,
Yeah.
it's usually the bride who has to be fair. A very fair bride, whatever the color of the man is, it doesn't matter, but the bride has
Doesn't
to be
matter.
fair, you know. So that is the first criterion. That is the first criterion. You're supposed to be fair. And this kind of racism has been prevalent in India for a very long time. And when people say, in Australia there is racism and people get beaten up and all these things and all, I find it ridiculous, because we carry our own baggage of racism with us wherever we go. So even in India, if there are a whole lot of Indians together, you also have this thing about, um, she belongs to this race, even among Indians in different parts of the world. So I don't find racism a factor in other parts of the world where I go to, because I'm living that kind of nightmare here, you know?
Right. Yeah.
That's the thing. Mm.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is
Hi.
Sangeeta.
Hi.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah, so I guess from my perspective, I am Indian. I'm from the north, and I didn't spend a lot of time in India. I was born in Dubai in the UAE, so I've lived in the Middle East for a lot of my life, and we went to international schools, and now I live in Italy. So I have a very different understanding or um, experience base when it comes to racism. And I feel like in a lot of ways, India is very similar to Italy when it comes to racism, vis-a-vis darker skinned people. There is this understanding, even within Italy, of a north and a south being different. So northern Italians look a little bit more Slavic, Nordic. They tend to be more light skin, light hair, blue eyes. That's the expectation. And then when you go down toward the south, these are people, because they are in the south where it is a little bit more tropical. We don't really have snow in the south. These people are also mixed with other parts of the world. So they tend to be a little bit darker skin, darker hair, darker eyes, and look a little bit unique in comparison to the north. Now, I live in the center of Italy, kind of. I live in Tuscany. And it's almost like I have never been to a country. I've been to many countries, and I've never been to a single country where I can say racism doesn't exist. It exists with different faces. It exists in different names, whether it's colorism, whether it's, for us, caste is a huge thing. A lot of people who happen to be higher upper caste, Brahmin Ayers, for example, tend to be more or less lighter because of the kind of work that they do. Pundits tend to be lighter skinned in India as compared to, say, someone who's Shudra Dalits tend to be darker skinned just because of the work that they're assigned, because caste is almost entirely about the job that you do, the work that you do. But it's like I never really got to, the only way I experienced racism living in India was, it wasn't even living. I would visit every few years, but it's palpable. You feel like people treat you differently. Friends of mine who might be lighter skinned or darker skinned have completely different treatment wherever they go. And it's not that different here in Italy. And it's never been different from that anywhere else. There's this weird fixation on color. You're not the right color. Are you Indian? Are you this? Are you that? You don't look right. There is a thing as looking right. And if you don't look a certain way, according to expectations, it's almost like you shouldn't be here. You don't belong. You're an anomaly. And we need to fix the anomaly. So that's where I come from.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I can relate in a different way in the sense that I'm mixed race, but I have a very Punjabi name and people get confused all of the time. I mean, I'm confused because I don't speak the language. I've been to India once. I was born and raised in different parts of Canada. And in a way, it's sort of a privilege being able to be chameleon-like, be able to navigate different spaces. And I'm also fair-skinned, right? And I acknowledge that sense of privilege. And in another way, it really does impact your sense of belonging. So if I don't belong here, where do I sort of fit in? And that has been a big part of my, I would say, early years identity crisis. Now I just sort of brace in with who I am. What am I going to do about it? But yeah, it can, I think, as Suma mentioned, it can really lead to, I think she mentioned about her son, just finding yourself and wanting to be appreciated for who you are as a person and not necessarily based on, you know, your complexion. No, that was so great. Thank you everyone for sharing. And in thinking about this, I also wonder about women, right? So in what ways do women carry this sort of burden, like this additional burden? So we live like in a patriarchal society. Most societies are. They're dominated by men, determined by men, guided by men. And I wonder how, taking into account race or colorism or tribalism or the caste system, um, how that double burdens or creates this extra layer of burden for a woman. And if you know, or have you been a part of movements where you're resisting it as a woman in your community or in your space, or know of really cool movements that are taking place?
Well, I'm a white woman, so I don't want to talk too much in our group, but I'm a talkative person, so it's hard to resist saying that in the US we had the Black Lives Matter movement, which really rose up and took over for a year or maybe even 3 years, but now you don't hear about it anymore. So there was a lot of outrage when a policeman uh, arrested and killed in front of a large group George Floyd by kneeling on his neck and looking around defiantly at the people who were filming him with their phones, saying, "Stop, you're killing him, you're killing him." And he did indeed kill him. And he did indeed get convicted and go to jail, and which was surprising in this country. But anyway, that seems to have faded back now under our new administration, which is very racist, and all the racists are feeling empowered and rising up. There's more hate crimes, and it's so disturbing. And I try to be an ally. I don't know exactly how. Like one time I was driving and I saw some policeman arresting a black man, and I didn't know what would happen if I tried to intervene. If would I make it worse? What was he being arrested for? I didn't know, but I felt suspicious. And this was before all these protests about this administration, and I didn't know how to behave. I don't know how to behave, but I'm trying to learn.
I mean, I think that's a legitimate question of many folks who are white or part of a dominant group within their context where they live. It's like, well, I'm not necessarily being targeted, but at the same time, how do I resist? Like, what are my forms or options of resistance? I first want to say for anyone who's calling in today or like, here today with us, and you are white or part of the dominant group, like there's so much. You're so important and so valuable because allies are so needed. But it's a fair question. Like those moments can be really, really difficult. I know that a lot of people are filming. Like yesterday, I don't know if you guys heard. I mean, it's everywhere in the news here, I guess, because I'm so close to the United States, where an ICU nurse was shot on the ground by 5 ICE agents, and he was protecting a woman, and he was shot, I think, 10 times, if I'm not mistaken, or like an amount of times where someone's on the ground. It's not proportional to the situation at hand, right? Anyway, so there's definitely fear, I think, too, circulating where, like, well, I can use my power and privilege as a man, as a white man in a situation to protect a woman, yet I face being shot. And I think that's like the plain sight. Yeah. And I think that's a plain sight racism that's taking place. It's becoming a lot more nuanced and complex within like the Western world, right? Where we expect these things not to happen in front of your eyes.
Well, he was a white
Yeah.
man, I believe. And I don't know, I've heard that part of the administration's strategy is to cow the white people so that they won't protest.
Mm.
And so it's not just racism. I mean, this what's happening in the US right now is an attempt to establish a dictatorship or some kind of different form of government where nobody can protest, nobody can complain, or they get killed. And so that's kind of what seems like we're moving towards right now. It's very scary. But there's a lot of racism, but there's also white people getting killed too. Like the woman was white and the man was white who were just killed by ICE, who are supposed
And US citizens.
yeah, and they were US citizens, and ICE is supposedly targeting illegal immigrants, but they're not.
Well,
They're targeting them also. I mean, sorry.
Patsy talking about US citizens being killed to just brought a different scenario to all this, because in my head I feel like, oh, only the black people that leave their country to go to the US are usually being targeted and all that. But you saying even the US people too are usually killed now is just so surprising. Like, what's going on? Why such brutality?
My understanding is just an attempt of the Trump administration to change our system of government so it's not a democracy anymore. And that involves making everyone obey, not just people of color. That's my understanding.
Like
Everybody's arguing about what's happening. Nobody really knows because nobody's saying that, but that's the way the actions are. That's the way I interpret them, and that's the way they look to me.
It's also it's a point of contention as well, isn't it? Because anything that happens in the US almost becomes a trend that, like a tsunami, it goes through other countries.
Yeah.
Like when you guys got rid of abortion rights, Italy was right next to you guys. Meloni announcing that you can, Giorgia Meloni announcing that now you have to go through harassment from anti-abortion groups who can just come into any of these abortion clinics, any regular clinics, and do their protests against abortion. And it's almost women are now again, like they used to be a very long time ago, again being forced to watch videos, like really graphic videos of, you know, things like abortion and what it can do to your body, what it does to the fetus's body. And so when you hear the way that, I guess in this case, the government itself treats human life, it's like the rest of us are just as disposable in the rest of these countries. And we're just waiting until, the hammer, the axe falls.
I just want to add one more thing. The Guardian, so they arrested a black woman at a protest, and then the White House put out a picture of her that they had altered, that the Guardian wrote a story about, and they analyzed and saw the picture was altered. So this was a black woman who was very calm as she was being arrested. And then they put a picture of her, they made her skin darker, and they made her crying, like, ah, as she's being arrested, which she was not doing. So this also this era of AI where they can just make up and have no respect for the truth. It's scary. But the counterbalance that I can see is the citizens with the phones who are saying, no, that's not what happened. Because the White House, again, with this man they killed, they say, oh, he had a gun, he was threatening. And that people who were there have videos showing, no, he did not have a gun. He was not threatening anyone. He was protecting the woman and got shot 10 times or whatever Harpreet said. So that's very scary too. It's all scary. But I'm a little bit off topic, but that's racism there to make the woman's skin darker in the picture that they put out.
Yes, because it is usually believed that the dark skinned are the ones that are supposed to be suffering. They are the ones that are not wanted. I think that's the general thinking. Just feel like you guys are dark. You should be behind. You should be at the back.
Domi, is there any way you can turn your camera sideways so you take up more space? I want to see your face. Oh, no, that doesn't work. I thought somehow you'd get horizontal. Sorry.
Are there any movements in Nigeria or like any types of resistance that you know taking place by women to challenge? The women seem to be in Nigeria really impacted by these standards of beauty. And I think Esther mentioned, you know, assault rates tend to be justified based on how fair you are, that sort of thing. And I wonder if you guys know of anything that's happening or you can just speak of your own experience about the ways in you resist sort of these categorizations of colorism, tribalism, or
the one I can think of is this Black is Beautiful movement. I don't think it's just in Nigeria. I think it's in other countries as well. So the Black is Beautiful. And it's honestly, the colorism is mostly just for women because men are preferred to be dark, actually. Like it's preferable for a man to be dark, tall,
do you know
and
why that is? Or like what's
I don't
the
know.
like
Even
what's the
the
thought?
women do not like fairer guys, so it's just preferable for a guy to be dark and for
Did you even
girls to
see
be fairer.
trending tweet that was saying the assignments given to kids these days cannot be solved by light-skinned men?
Yes, so they always make just of lighter skinned guys. So like darker skinned guys are preferred actually. So colorism is honestly just for women over here.
Wow.
So, and honestly, I kind of fall in the middle because I'm not exactly like dark skin, but I'm also not fair. So I like people do not always know how to categorize me. I've never really been bullied. But I do have like I come from a family of fairer skinned people. So there are fairer people in my family. And not one like my immediate family they don't talk about my skin color or anything. But like going for bigger family events, like extended family events. I was like, oh, you look darker now, like are you in the sun? That kind of thing. So like they expect you to always be fair. And we're in Nigeria. It's really sunny here. Like it should just be in the sun for like a week, and your skin is like 3 times darker. But they expect you to maintain a lighter skin tone as long as you're a woman because it's how you're supposed to find a husband. Yeah, I have this very fair skinned cousin. She's almost albino. I don't know if that's a concept. Yeah, so she's like always praised at family events. She's told that, oh, she's going to marry a king and all of those kind of things because of her skin. So it's that's my own personal experience with it. I do not have experiences of being bullied for being dark because I'm not really dark like that.
For me, I'm on the darker side. And the first thing people target when they want to abuse me is look at your black face. So that's been like that.
Yeah.
And when we talk about skincare and the trending things about getting white and all that, it's always women that is being targeted. When you want to advertise for such brands too, it's always women because they expect that women should be the fair one. And for a movement with regards to this, I don't think there's any active one right here.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any active one, but I feel like it should start from you. If you don't see yourself as beautiful, there's no way those things will not get to you. You'll be forced to bleach your skin. You'll be forced to do things that you're not supposed to do. So it should start from you. You should see yourself as beautiful before outsiders can see you as beautiful. But then women are always the center of the bully when it comes to colorism here in Nigeria. Yeah.
And even with tribalism, because we have 300 plus tribes over here and 500 plus languages. Like, we're plenty.
Wow.
And we're very different. And
Very
even with
diverse.
tribes, even with tribes, like Dami said, we have three major tribes. That's the Yoruba, the Igbo, and the Hausa. I'm from a minority tribe. I'm from the Ibibio. So I don't think that would have experience with that. But when I go out, like I do not stay among my tribe. I stay in the Yoruba land. When I go out, it's kind of a very interesting experience when you go among more secluded areas, like where they are not as educated. So it's like when I go to these places, like everybody can tell you're not Yoruba, because I stay in Yoruba land. Everybody can tell you're not Yoruba. And it does tell in how they treat you. I have a friend who is also staying in the area, and she's also from my tribe. She's a Bibio. And she moved from Akwa Ibom, which is where my tribe is, down here. And she had such a hard time finding a house, because you would have landlords being like, I don't rent houses to, first of all, they don't rent houses to single women. Secondly, they don't rent houses to Igbo people. So it's like you're losing on two grounds. You're a woman and you're not from the tribe. So
would you, Uwanah, I can't quite understand that. Could you spell those three tribes for me? Because the caption.
that's Igbo, that's IGBO.
Okay. And
the
then,
Yoruba is YORUBA.
okay.
And Hausa is HAUSA.
Okay.
And my tribe is Ibibio, IBIBIO.
Okay. That helps me understand, because the captions aren't really getting it properly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just have to say, it's terrible that they won't rent to single women, but also,
Yeah, it's actually quite a thing over here. Like, being single is kind of a curse. There are even like restaurants and hotels you go to, and they tell you they don't serve single women. Like, me and my friend tried going to this very popular hotel just to sit at their bar, and they said they did not allow us in because we're women, single women. Like, you have to be with a man if we are let into certain places. Like, it's quite a thing over here.
wow.
Because they believe, I don't know, they believe women are always, I don't know, they don't trust single women. Like, you are of questionable character if you are single.
But the house rent parts, they just feel like you'll be wayward, you'll be bringing in
Yes, because
men.
if a man has not accepted you, obviously you're not,
So
your
you'll be
character is questionable.
do anything you want to. I experienced that too during my NYSC when I wanted to take an apartment. The woman was like, I don't want a wayward girl, but because you are just a fresh student, I'm going to trust you and all that. I just swept it under the carpet anyway. But she didn't have issue because she was Yoruba and I was Yoruba too. I know
if we are from a different tribe, it's going to be an issue. Yeah.
Reject me out. She would reject me. So it's just crazy. Eh?
We have laws against that in the US, but I'm not sure they're always followed, but you're not supposed to discriminate in housing. And when Ta-Nehisi Coates, a writer, wrote a fabulous essay explaining why the government should make reparations to the descendants of enslaved Africans, part of it was explaining how they were cut out of neighborhoods. They couldn't buy or rent, and it affected their economic ability to prosper. And, that slavery went on, or discrimination went on even after slavery was outlawed in these other ways that weren't as visible, like not renting, not loaning the money, not letting them live in certain neighborhoods, plus the job discrimination, everything else.
I think we have.
I don't think we have laws against discrimination in this country. I don't think they see it as an issue. I don't know if I'm wrong, but if there are, they are not following it because we are like there's a lot to be discriminated against, like for in this country. Like there's a whole lot, and the government honestly do not care about us like that to make laws against discrimination. So you go for job interviews and you're discriminated against like your skin color first of all, should be a woman because like they prefer like beautiful women who are fairer skinned, obviously. Another thing is if you are not in your own state, like me, I'm in the Yoruba land, you don't speak their language. So that's another thing. So there's a lot to be discriminated for in this country, and there are no laws against it. That's far as I'm aware of.
And that's where classism falls under too. Even when you graduate with a certain degree, I don't think those things should count. I don't think those things should count. Although there are now exceptions due to connections and all that. But they still tell you when you want to apply for some certain jobs that when you have a first-class degree or you have a second-class degree before you can fit in for the job. All these things, they also follow the rules of racism. It separates us, it divides us. It's just discrimination in all forms. Yeah.
Heard of the sayings, last to be hired, first to be fired. I think it was American comedian that said that, and referring to Black Americans, he's like, yeah, last to be hired, first to be fired. And I think that sums it up real well when we think about discrimination based on the color of your skin or racism. Yeah. Sangeeta, I think you wanted to say something. Did you? I heard your screen go green. Or saw your screen go green.
Yes.
No. I just wanted to make sure. I don't want to skip over you. If you wanted to say something. I saw like the green frame.
Okay, if I want to say something about colorism because topics are going like this, and I want to share a story about my classmate. She was obsessed by skin color. Like she was like everyone was telling her that oh, you are very dark, so no one is going to marry you, this and that. So one day she was sitting in my university campus, and she was very happy, and she was saying that one local product, and my cousin is like applying this product on her face, and she is becoming lighter and fairer in 10 days or so. And I saw this with my own eyes. When she come after a break of 15 days, she was lighter and her skin was like very light. When I said, but what product are you using? And she said this product, local product. And I told her this is very dangerous. Mercury is in it. Mercury is in it. Like it is very like it is not safe to use. And she said, oh, you are just jealous. Now you are not only only girl in class who is fair. So, and after some days, like month or so, her skin was like burned, and people and later we found out she got skin cancer.
Gosh.
Yes, and because of
and that happens. And over here we have women bleaching their babies because obviously it's colorism. So fairer babies are also seen as more beautiful. So we have mothers bleaching their babies.
Oh my
so that
God.
the babies will be seen as cuter. And they don't even think about the consequences, like for example, skin cancer. So like we have mothers who bleach their babies. And you see people walking around with red, green, black, purple on their skins, and they do not care as long as it's not black.
But there's something very interesting about colorism because, yes, within a country, if you are a lighter skinned person, sure, you have certain benefits. But as soon as you leave, especially if you have a third world passport, it doesn't matter. You are still that person. Yeah, like
you're still black.
Yeah, you're either black or brown or wherever you come from, that doesn't change.
Yeah.
In fact, when you say racism in plain sight, I feel like passports are such a great example of this. Because you could be a black person with a Nigerian passport versus a black person with an American passport, and the world opens up in a very different way.
In a very different.
Yeah, same for like, for example, if you're an Indian person with an Indian passport, a lot fewer countries want you there. But the minute it's a UK
Not to talk of a Nigerian passport.
Yeah, these are weak passports, but then why are they weak? Why should they be weak? What suddenly changed between me getting, say, a UK passport and me having an Indian one or a Nigerian one or an Ethiopian one? What changed? Nothing really. I'm still the same person. If I want to go into your house and kill you, I could still do that with a UK passport. Nothing really
I
changed.
think just foreign policy and all of this government talk.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's so normalized because it's like, oh yeah, you have a weak passport, so you definitely have to apply for the visa and you have to wait for like 6 months.
And you have to pay exorbitant fees that do not get refunded if the visa is not approved.
Yeah, and you have to show more money in your account.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of things. And depending on where you come from, it keeps getting worse.
I think the thing is, like people with the weaker passports, they are usually seen as trying to escape from their country. So the money part, you have to show that you have enough money. So they will not see it as, oh, you just want to escape from the country. So they have to know that, oh, you're leaving this country maybe for like 2 weeks and you're coming back to your country. Like you're not going to try to escape. So I think that's why they try to do all of that. But like it's not like it's our fault. The country is terrible. And it's not like it's our fault the country is terrible. So like the citizens are just getting punished for
because of this
the government does.
Because of this weak and strong passport of 18, is that not the reason why Trump feels is above everybody? Like he can just control you. I now declare Nigeria as a state of emergency. Those things.
Yeah, he said that.
Trump has he has an influence over all the entire country. Anything that happened in the US is bound to happen elsewhere, like in every other country.
And it's so scary because like we're very much worse than the US. So like imagine that is happening in the US. I can't imagine what our government is learning from that. So
that's a very big influence on us here because they try. Imagine I said he wants to come to Nigeria. He was stopping the news for like 8 weeks non-stop.
Oh my God. And everybody was behaving properly.
Trump everywhere. Like there's the stronger and the weaker passport of it. It has a very big thing over here. We are very weak. It's so painful.
Well, the people in my political view can't wait to get rid of him. He's just every day he does something more outrageous, and it's very unhappy. A lot of people are very unhappy right now. And I was thinking about the racism. One of the first things he did was he eliminated, we had something called DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it said if two people are qualified for a job, you should hire the person who's diverse, who's going to diversify your company. So you're not all one type of person. And he said, no, we're going to get rid of that. And that was racist. And kind of a funny outcome of that is they had DEI was also benefiting white people in terms of college admission, because if they didn't want to have a balanced, diverse student population, it would be all Asians, because the Asians in the US score the highest on the tests. They score higher than the white people, the white students. So the white people were all like, or the racist white people were like, oh, good, get rid of DEI so I can have all the good jobs. But they didn't quite realize that it was going to backfire in that way in college. So they don't get in because they're not getting the top scores. So anyway, that's just one small example of the racism. And then, during his first term, he put on a Muslim ban. He said, Muslim people can't fly here. And everybody got upset. We showed up at airports. We protested. We're not racist country. But this term, everyone's so beaten down and tired and unsure, and nobody's we are protesting, but we're protesting different things like murder and ICE and much bigger violations of our rights. So not just people we care about, but also white people. And Minnesota is a very Caucasian place, the way I think of it. And now he's sending troops into Maine, which is also another enclave of white people, I think. I don't really know.
Yeah, it just all goes to show that racism doesn't really make any sense, right? And I think if I could conclude with one thing today, is it's all made up because we as human beings have made this shit up. And the more
and even in places where we do not have
just
racial diversity, there would always be a means to segregate people. So it's you always look for a means, no matter what.
Yeah.
But I hope as we evolve, we can stop doing that. We should cooperate, and we'll be better off. In fact, studies showed that when they did those diversification initiatives, the companies did better. It's better to have a wide range of viewpoints than everybody saying the same thing and seeing the same thing. You need those different perspectives to succeed, especially in this modern era where everything moves so fast. But
yeah, we also have a lot of those reverse discrimination claims coming out of Canada as it comes to First Nations people or Métis people or Inuit people, in the sense that, by providing an opportunity or by, asking for more than just your grades, by asking, okay, do you have a connection to the community in which you want to serve, right? Which allows for a more holistic, right, hiring process. You want people that are connected to the community, that have cultural humility, that understand the cultural nuances. And so it makes oftentimes more sense to have a person from a certain background serve that community. And these reverse discrimination claims come up saying, well, by this person getting this opportunity, I'm being discriminated against because I don't have these things and I don't need these things. And frankly, I think that is just so divisive. And it ultimately, I think the power lies in, it sounds pretty cheesy, but I always believe this, power lies in the collective, right? If that person doesn't, get an opportunity and they're constantly weighed down by all these systemic and institutional barriers, then it's most likely you're also impacted directly or indirectly. And then, your neighbor's probably also impacted. And so reminding ourselves that it's a collective, right? What makes sense for the collective? And sometimes what makes sense for the collective is for you to take a step back or to share your privilege, right? To give someone else an opportunity to speak up, or a space or a seat at the table, right? Yeah, but I feel like I could talk to you guys forever. We could have 500 more of these conversations based on race and being a woman. And just all the different ways in which that manifests and where we're from or where we live. I really appreciate all of you today sharing, being so open to share. This was fantastic.
Yeah.
It really was.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. And we're going to be back next week with Gargi. I think that's how you pronounce her name. And everyone here, of course, is invited. She also comes from India originally. Now she lives in New York City. And she is going to talk about how religion and spirituality can be oppressive to women. So if that's a topic that interests you, hope to see you next week.
I love that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such juicy topics. Thank
you.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thank you for the
Bye.
discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.